The space station called Bright Harbor floated at the edge of a quiet trade route. It was not the largest hub in the sector, but it was busy enough to feel alive. Cargo ships came and went, merchants argued in the markets, and miners stopped by to rest before returning to their lonely work. Among all the noise, Tom found his favorite place in the cantina called Star Den. It was not fancy, but it had good light, warm food, and plenty of card tables. Tom worked as a mechanic on the station. He spent his days fixing broken engines and patching old systems that should have been replaced years ago. He liked his job, but it was hard work and often dirty. In the evenings, when he was tired of grease and tools, he came to Starden to relax. He was not a drinker, but he loved the card games. The game was simple in name, but deep in strategy. It was called Stellar Deck. Every player held a hand of cards with symbols of planets, stars, ships, and comets. The goal was to build strong chains while stopping your opponents from doing the same. Tom had played for years, and though he never called himself a master, he was skilled enough that most people at the station knew not to underestimate him. On this evening, the cantina was crowded. Lights glowed soft gold and the air hummed with voices and laughter. Tom sat at his usual table, shuffling the deck with calm hands. His opponents were 2 miners and a trader. They had been playing for nearly an hour, and Tom had won more hands than he had lost. The miner on his left shook his head after another defeat and pushed his chair back. "I'm done," the miner said with a sigh. "You're too sharp for me tonight, Tom." Tom smiled and gathered the cards. "Luck is on my side, that's all." The trader leaned forward. "Or maybe you just have a talent you don't want to admit." Before Tom could answer, a soft voice spoke near the edge of the table. "Is this the place where one can play Stellar Deck?" The table grew quiet. Tom looked up and saw the stranger. She was small, standing no taller than Tom's chest and slender in frame. Her hair was silver, her eyes wide and bright like green glass. 2 triangular ears stood atop her head, twitching slightly as if listening to every sound in the room. Her tail swayed behind her, long and furred. She wore a simple travel suit, patched in places, but her presence drew the gaze of everyone nearby. Tom had seen many alien species pass through the station, but he had never seen one like her. She carried herself with a mix of pride and curiosity, as if she belonged here and yet was still learning what it meant to stand among humans. "This is the place," Tom said at last. "Do you know the game?" The alien girl stepped closer and gave a small nod. "I have learned from watching. I wish to try." The miner who had just quit chuckled. "Careful, stranger. Tom here will clean you out if you are not ready." The alien tilted her head. "Clean me out? That sounds like washing. Is this a human phrase?" The crowd laughed gently. Tom leaned back in his chair, studying her. He saw no fear in her expression, only determination. He gestured to the empty seat. "If you want to play, sit down. The rules are simple once you understand the flow." She slid into the chair with grace, folding her tail neatly around her legs. She set a small pouch on the table. The sound of crystals clinking inside caught Tom's attention. "My name is Mira," she said. "I wager this." The trader raised his eyebrows. "That is no small bet." Tom frowned slightly. "You don't need to risk so much for a friendly game. We usually play with credits or tokens." Mira shook her head. "My people play with what has value. These crystals are from my world. They are precious, but I do not fear losing. If I lose, I accept it. If I win, I will have proven my learning is complete." Her words carried weight, and Tom felt the eyes of the room watching. He shuffled the cards again, thinking. She was serious, and though he did not want to take advantage of a newcomer, he also respected her boldness. "Very well," Tom said, "but I will wager the same amount to be fair." He pulled out a small case and placed credits equal to the value of her crystals. The crowd murmured with interest. A human mechanic and a strange alien girl, facing each other in a high-stakes match, was not something one saw every day. The game began. At first, Mira played carefully, almost too carefully. She held her cards close and studied the table with sharp eyes. Her moves were slow, deliberate, as if she was testing every possibility before acting. Tom used this time to probe her style, laying down small traps and watching how she responded. To his surprise, she saw through several of them. When he tried to set up a comet chain, she cut it off with a bold star card. When he shifted to a ship route, she blocked him again. She was no beginner, not truly. She had studied well and her mind worked quickly. The crowd leaned in, drawn by the growing tension. Each round became more daring. Mira smiled faintly when she outmaneuvered Tom, and Tom found himself smiling back despite the stakes. She was enjoying the challenge, and so was he. After nearly an hour, the game reached its final hand. The table was crowded with cards, chains twisting like maps of the galaxy. Mira had a strong position, and Tom knew that one mistake could cost him everything. She looked at her cards, then at him, and placed a crystal card on the table with a graceful hand. Gasps rose from the onlookers. It was a rare move, one that could lock the game in her favor if she completed the chain. Tom's mind raced. He studied his hand, searching for a way to break her hold. At first he saw nothing. Then he noticed a path she had overlooked. Slowly, he placed a star card in the corner of the chain, turning her strength into a weakness. The crowd burst into noise as the shift became clear. Mira's eyes widened. She looked at her remaining cards, then back at him. For the first time in the game, she hesitated. Her ears twitched and her tail flicked. She made her final move, but it was not enough. Tom set down his last card with calm certainty. The game was over. Tom had won. The cantina erupted with cheers. Miners slapped each other on the back. The trader laughed loudly, and even the bartender raised a glass. Tom leaned back, letting out a breath he had not realized he was holding. It had been one of the best games of his life. Mira sat in silence for a moment, staring at the table. Then she stood, picked up her pouch of crystals, and placed it gently in front of Tom. But instead of sadness or anger, her face showed something else. She bowed her head slightly and spoke in a clear voice that carried through the room. "You have won. By the law of my people, that makes you my husband." The cheers fell silent. Every eye turned to Tom. He froze, unsure if he had heard correctly. Mira straightened and looked at him with bright, steady eyes. "Do not refuse. It is the way of my clan. The one who defeats me is bound to me." Tom's mouth opened, but no words came. The crowd stared, waiting for his reaction. He had come for a simple game, and now the night had turned into something he could never have imagined. The Starden Cantina was still buzzing with noise after Tom's win, but Mira's words cut through it like a sharp blade. She stood with her hands folded before her, her silver hair shining in the light, her green eyes calm but unyielding. "You are my husband now," she repeated, as if there could be no mistake in her meaning. Tom blinked, feeling the weight of 100 eyes fixed on him. The trader at the table coughed to hide his laughter, and one of the miners muttered something about strange alien customs. Tom finally managed to speak. "Hold on, I just want a game. That's all. Where does marriage come into this?" Mira tilted her head, her ears twitching slightly. "In my clan, a bond is made through contest. The stronger one claims the right to guide the weaker. It is not only about victory. It is about trust, respect, and duty. You won, so now you are bound to me." Tom ran a hand over his face. "That sounds serious. Too serious. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding." The crowd chuckled. Some leaned closer, eager to see how this odd exchange would end. The bartender polished a glass slowly, shaking his head with quiet amusement. Mira did not waver. She placed her hands on the table and looked straight into Tom's eyes. "It is not a misunderstanding. It is our way. Do you refuse?" Her voice was calm, but there was a quiet intensity beneath it. Tom realized she was not joking, not playing some trick. She truly believed what she said. "I'm not refusing," Tom said carefully. "I'm just saying I didn't know about this. Humans don't do things like that. Winning a card game doesn't make someone your husband." Mira's tail flicked behind her, a sign of thought or perhaps annoyance. "Then humans are strange. Where I come from, honor is in keeping bonds. You will learn," the miner laughed outright. "Careful, Tom. You're married now, whether you like it or not." The laughter spread, but Tom felt only a deep unease. He gathered the cards and credits, sliding Mira's pouch of crystals back toward her. "Keep these." "I don't need them. I just wanted a fair game." Mira pushed the pouch back firmly. "No, what is lost stays lost. To return it would be shameful," Tom sighed. He could feel this argument would go nowhere. "Fine, but listen, Mira, I'm not anyone's husband. You can stay here, enjoy the station, but don't follow me around expecting, well, whatever you're expecting." She said nothing. Instead, she simply stood, gathered her small bag, and followed him out of the cantina. The crowd roared with laughter and cheers. "Good luck, Tom," one of the miners shouted. "Looks like you've got a shadow now." Tom ignored them and walked quickly through the corridor. The station's lights glowed a dull blue, and the sound of machines hummed around him. He hoped she would turn back, but when he glanced over his shoulder, Mira was still there, walking with quiet steps, her ears alert and her tail swaying. Finally, he stopped. "Are you really going to follow me everywhere?" Mira nodded once. "Yes, that is what a wife does," Tom groaned. "You don't even know me. I fix engines. I live in a small room with barely enough space for one person. I'm not what you think I am." "I know enough," Mira said. "You are clever. You are strong in spirit. You won. That is what matters." Tom stared at her, searching for some sign of weakness or uncertainty. But Mira's gaze was steady. She truly believed every word. "All right," he muttered. "Fine, you can come with me, but only until we figure this out. You'll see soon enough that humans don't do this." She gave the smallest smile, but said nothing more. Tom's quarters were modest, just a small room with a bunk bed, a desk, and shelves filled with tools and parts. The air smelled faintly of oil and metal. Mira stepped inside and looked around with quiet curiosity. She touched the walls, examined the shelves, and tilted her head at the simple cot that Tom called a bed. "This is where you live?" she asked. "It's not much, but it works," Tom said. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to rest. You can stay here for the night, but tomorrow we'll talk again." Mira sat cross-legged on the floor, her tail wrapped around her legs. "I will not disturb you. Rest." Tom lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He told himself it was temporary. She would see how different humans were, how strange her claims sounded here, and she would give up. But deep down he had a feeling it would not be that simple. The next day, Tom went to work in the mechanics bay. He hoped Mira would stay behind, but when he arrived, she was already there, watching from the doorway. His co-workers looked up in surprise. "Who's your new friend?" one of them asked with a grin. Tom muttered, "She's just visiting." But Mira corrected him, her voice calm and certain. "I am his wife." The bay filled with laughter. "Tom, finally settle down," someone shouted. Tom turned red. "She's not my wife." "It's a misunderstanding." Mira folded her arms. "There is no misunderstanding." The day passed with Tom trying to focus on repairs while Mira followed him like a quiet shadow. She did not interfere, but she asked questions about every tool, every engine part, every process. She was quick to learn, and soon she was handing him the right tools before he even asked. By the end of the shift, Tom realized she was not just following, she was helping. And though he hated to admit it, her presence made the work smoother. That evening, they walked through the station markets. Mira's eyes lit up at the stalls filled with strange foods, fabrics, and machines. She asked endless questions, pointing at things she had never seen before. "Why do humans eat this? Why do you wear that? Why do your ships fly this way instead of that way?" Tom answered as best as he could, though sometimes he had no real answer. Mira listened closely, her ears twitching as she absorbed every word. As they walked, whispers followed them. "That's the mechanic and his alien wife," people murmured. Some laughed, others looked curious, and a few simply shook their heads. Tom tried to ignore it. He had learned long ago that life on a station meant people always talked. Still, the weight of Mira's claim pressed on him. She acted with certainty, as if there could be no other truth. That night, as they returned to his quarters, Tom finally spoke what had been on his mind all day. "Mira, listen, I respect your customs, but I'm not sure I can accept this bond." "I don't know you." "You don't know me." "Back where I come from, marriage is a choice, not something forced by a game." Mira looked at him with calm eyes. "In my clan, choice comes in the contest. I chose to challenge you. You chose to play. The game chose the bond. That is how it is." Tom rubbed his temples. "And what if I refuse?" Her ears lowered slightly and her tail stilled. For the first time, she looked unsure. "To refuse would bring me shame. It would mean I have no guide, no protector. It would mean I am alone among strangers." Her words struck him. He saw no trick, no manipulation, only honesty. She had placed everything on that game, and now she was bound to its outcome. Tom sighed. "All right, we'll figure this out. But don't expect me to change overnight." Mira nodded softly. "I will wait. Bonds are not broken in a day." As Tom lay in bed that night, he stared at the ceiling again. The station hummed around him, and Mira's quiet breathing came from where she rested on the floor. He told himself it was only temporary, that soon she would understand humans were different. But deep down, he felt the first flicker of something he could not name. Perhaps it was respect for her courage. Perhaps it was curiosity about her world. Or perhaps it was simply the strange truth that life among the stars often brought the unexpected. Whatever it was, Tom knew one thing. His life had just become far more complicated. The next few days passed in a blur. Tom tried to carry on with his work, hoping the strange bond with Mira would somehow fade into the background. Yet everywhere he went, Mira was there. She followed him to the mechanics bay, sat quietly during his lunch breaks, and even helped sort through broken parts. Some of the other workers began to accept her presence, joking that Tom finally had an assistant. But not everyone was amused. On the fourth evening, when Tom and Mira were walking through the market, a shadow fell across their path. 3 tall figures blocked the way. Their skin was pale blue, marked with black lines that glowed faintly in the station's light. Each wore a coat made of scales, and their sharp eyes glared at Mira with open hostility. Tom slowed, feeling tension crawl across his skin. He had seen their kind before, mercenaries who traveled from world to world, always looking for profit or trouble. "Mira of the Silver Claw," the leader said in a low voice. "We have been searching for you." Mira stiffened, her ears flattening against her head. Her tail lashed once in alarm. Tom glanced between them. "What do you want with her?" The leader sneered. "This is no business of yours, human. The girl owes us. She took crystals that belonged to our clan. Now we have come to collect." Tom felt the eyes of nearby merchants and shoppers turning toward them. The market was still, waiting to see what would happen. Mira stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Those crystals were mine by right. You have no claim." The second mercenary bared his teeth. "You lost them in the game, Mira, and yet you still dare to carry them. That makes you a thief." Tom's heart sank. Suddenly, the memory of the pouch she had wagered in the card game came back. Had those crystals been taken from these mercenaries? He turned to Mira. "Is this true?" She did not look at him. "They speak half-truths. The crystals were taken by trickery. I only tried to win them back." The mercenary leader laughed. "Call it what you like, but you hold what belongs to us. Return them now or suffer the price." Mira's hand went to her pouch, clutching it tightly. Her voice trembled, though her eyes remained fierce. "I will not give them to you. They are my people's legacy." The leader stepped closer, towering over her. "Then we will take them from your broken body." Tom moved before he thought. He stepped between Mira and the mercenaries, holding up his hands. "Enough, this is a peaceful station. You can't just threaten people here." The leader sneered at him. "Step aside, human. This is not your fight." Tom's chest tightened. He remembered Mira's words in the cantina, when she had declared him her husband. At the time it had felt absurd, even laughable, but now, facing these mercenaries, he felt a strange pull of responsibility. "She's under my protection," Tom said firmly. "If you want to take her, you'll have to go through me." Gasps rippled through the watching crowd. Mira's eyes widened, surprise flickering across her face. The mercenary leader gave a cold smile. "So the mechanic thinks himself a warrior. Very well. You have chosen your side." With a signal of his hand, the 3 mercenaries stepped back into the shadows. The leader's voice was low, but every word was a threat. "We will return soon. When we do, no wall, no station guard, no human custom will save her. Be ready." Then they vanished into the crowd, leaving silence in their wake. Tom turned to Mira, his pulse still racing. "What have you gotten me into?" Mira's ears lowered. "I did not wish for this, but it was bound to follow me. They hunt me because I refuse to bend? They will not stop." Tom rubbed his forehead. "You could have told me the truth earlier." She met his gaze. "Would you have helped me if I had?" He wanted to say no, but the answer caught in his throat. He had already stepped in, already claimed her side. To deny it now would feel hollow. "Fine," he muttered, "but we can't fight them alone. We need to prepare." Mira's tail curled around her legs as she nodded. "Then I will show you what I know." That night, Tom and Mira worked in the mechanics bay long after the others had gone. Mira pulled a small device from her pouch, a cube that unfolded into a glowing map of stars. She pointed to a cluster near the edge of the chart. "This is my home system," she said softly. "The crystals come from our world. They are rare, filled with energy that can power ships for years. That is why the mercenaries want them. They think they can rule by hoarding what is ours." Tom studied the glowing map. "And you carried them all the way here?" She nodded. "I was sent to guard them, but I was tricked. They lured me into a contest I could not win, using rules I did not understand. They claimed the crystals as their prize, but I took them back when I saw their greed." Tom frowned. "So they think you're a thief, but you were really trying to protect your people's legacy." "Yes," Mira said. and now I have bound you to me. You could walk away, but you did not. That is why I trust you." Tom leaned against the workbench, letting out a long breath. "I don't know if I deserve that trust. But if those mercenaries come, we'll need more than trust. We'll need a plan." The following days were spent in preparation. Tom used his knowledge of the station's systems to set up hidden alarms near his quarters. He repaired Mira's small ship, which had been sitting idle in one of the outer docks. Its hull was scarred and its engine barely worked, but with Mira's help they brought it back to life. Mira proved to be more than just a shadow. She was quick, agile, and clever with tools. She learned human devices almost instantly, adapting them to her needs. Tom found himself impressed despite the danger that hung over them. At night they trained. Mira taught Tom the basics of her people's combat style, using swift movements and precise strikes. Tom was no warrior, but he learned fast. His strength and her agility made for a strange but effective pairing. One evening, after hours of practice, Tom collapsed onto the floor of the bay, breathing hard. Mira stood over him, her green eyes shining with approval. "You learn quickly," she said. "Perhaps you are not only a mechanic." Tom chuckled weakly. "I'll stick with fixing engines. Fighting gangs isn't exactly my dream job." Her tail swayed gently. Dreams change when the stars demand it. On the 6th night after the first encounter, the alarm Tom had set near his quarters rang out. A shrill tone echoed through the station. Tom jumped to his feet, grabbing the tool-turned weapon he had been working on. Mira was already by his side, her ears alert, her tail stiff. "They are here," she whispered. The mercenaries came like shadows through the corridors, their glowing marks cutting through the dark. They carried weapons shaped like long spears, humming with energy. The leader's voice echoed down the hall. "Mira of the Silver Claw, come out and face us. Do not hide behind your human pet." Tom gritted his teeth. He looked at Mira, and she met his gaze with steady resolve. "We stand together," she said. The mercenaries advanced, and the battle for Bright Harbor began. The corridors of Bright Harbor echoed with the faint hum of machines and the distant chatter of night shift workers. Tom moved cautiously, gripping the weapon he had improvised from his tools. Mira's presence beside him was reassuring, though he was still not fully comfortable with the idea of being bound to her. "We can't let them take the crystals," Mira whispered, her ears twitching as she scanned the hall. "If they leave with them, the energy inside could be misused." "My people will suffer," Tom nodded. "I understand. But we need a plan. We don't have their numbers, and they are strong. We can't just run at them." Mira glanced at him, her green eyes bright in the dim light. "We don't need to match them in strength. We need to be clever, unpredictable, and work together. You have human cunning. I have speed and agility. Together we can win." Tom felt a surge of determination. He had never thought of himself as a fighter, but facing these mercenaries he realized that protecting Mira was no longer just her problem. It was theirs together. They moved through the maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the station. These corridors were narrow, filled with pipes and cables, but they offered many advantages. Tom set traps along the paths, small devices that could trip or slow intruders, alarms that would alert them if anyone stepped in the wrong place. Mira helped, pointing out spots where her speed could make her invisible to the enemy's eyes. As they worked, Tom learned more about her people's ways. Mira taught him how to move silently, how to read subtle changes in her surroundings, and how to anticipate movements. Tom shared his knowledge of human devices and engineering. Together they transformed the quiet corridors into a maze that could hold off even a skilled opponent. Hours passed in careful preparation. By the time they finished, the tunnels were a network of defenses, and their small team felt ready to face the mercenaries. When the first wave of the gang arrived, the traps went off perfectly. A sudden burst of sparks from a rigged panel sent two of them stumbling. Tom fired his improvised weapon carefully, not to harm but to disarm. Mira moved like a shadow, dodging and weaving around the attackers, tripping them with precise movements and striking pressure points to disable them. The mercenary leader roared in frustration. "You dare fight us?" Tom stepped forward, holding his weapon steady. "You are not taking her crystals." "Not on my watch." Mira crouched behind him, her tail coiled for balance. "Work together, Tom. Watch the openings. I will cover you." The fight moved quickly. Tom realized that Mira's agility allowed her to anticipate attacks even before they came. She would dart in, distract the mercenaries, and then vanish, leaving them off balance for him to act. Tom's knowledge of the station's systems gave them an edge, too. He triggered lights to flicker, doors to slide shut, and pressure vents to release bursts of air that forced the mercenaries off their path. Each wave of attackers grew more desperate, but Tom and Mira's teamwork became sharper with every encounter. They began to anticipate each other's moves, instinctively covering weaknesses and reinforcing strengths. At one point, Tom fell back, catching his breath, and saw Mira facing the leader alone. She was smaller, but she moved with a confidence that made her seem much larger. The leader swung a staff toward her, but she leaped over it with perfect timing and struck him in a weak spot on his side. He stumbled back, momentarily stunned. Tom smiled, realizing how well they complemented each other. He rushed forward to assist, and together they forced the leader back through a narrow corridor, limiting his ability to use brute strength. When the dust settled for a moment, Tom looked around the station. Sparks flew from damaged panels, alarms were ringing, and the station's lights flickered. The mercenaries were strong, but Tom realized something important. His people skills. Mira's agility and their combined strategy had made them equal, if not stronger than the attackers. Mira's tail swished, and her ears twitched as she scanned the area. "They will not give up easily," she said. "We have slowed them, but they will return." Tom nodded, though he felt a rush of pride. "We'll be ready. We can handle them if they come again." For the first time, he began to see Mira not just as a strange alien who claimed him by a game, but as a capable partner, someone he could trust to have his back in impossible situations. After the initial attack, they returned to the small workshop they had set up near the docks. Mira helped Tom check the traps, repairing or adjusting them for the next encounter. Tom worked on reinforcing the walls and securing entrances, but he also paused to watch Mira at work. She moved with precise motions, using tools he had never imagined an alien would need. "You are good at this," he said quietly. She looked up, slightly smiling. "And you are learning. Soon you will see that humans and my kind can achieve much when we work together." Tom felt something warm in his chest. He had never had anyone so steadfastly trust him before. It was a strange feeling, but one he could not ignore. The next day, the station council became involved. Reports of the mercenary attack spread quickly, and security teams moved to investigate. However, the mercenaries were clever, using secret paths and small ships hidden in the station's shadowed docks. Tom realized that even the best station guards would not be enough to protect Mira or the crystals without their intervention. "We have to stay ahead of them," Tom said, pacing. "If they think they can wait us out, they will win." Mira nodded. "We need to create a distraction, something they cannot ignore." Together, they planned a bold strategy. They would lead the mercenaries into a part of the station filled with heavy machinery, where Tom's knowledge of the environment could be used to trap and disable them. Mira's speed would allow her to move unseen, guiding Tom and drawing attention to herself in precise moments. The plan was risky, but it left no other option. That evening, the mercenaries returned. They came through the maintenance tunnels, confident that their previous attacks had weakened the defenders. Tom and Mira waited, hearts pounding, eyes sharp. When the first group appeared, Mira darted forward, drawing them into the trap. Sparks flew, doors slammed, and air vents released sudden bursts that threw the attackers off balance. Tom moved like a shadow behind her, striking at exposed limbs and disabling their weapons without causing lasting harm. The battle was intense, but their preparation and teamwork were flawless. They moved in perfect harmony, anticipating each other's moves as if they had trained together for years. The mercenaries could not adapt quickly enough, and one by one they were forced to retreat. Finally, the leader faced them alone. He roared in frustration, swinging his staff with all his strength. Mira leaped aside, and Tom used the environment to his advantage, tripping the leader with a carefully timed mechanism that sent him sprawling into a reinforced wall. The fight was over. Breathing heavily, Tom looked at Mira. She was glowing slightly from the exertion, her ears flicking as she scanned for any remaining threats. "We did it," Tom said, though the words felt small compared to the battle they had just survived. Mira gave a faint smile. "We did it together. That is the strength of trust and the power of unity." Tom felt a strange sense of satisfaction. For the first time, he realized that the bond she had declared after the card game was more than a custom. It was a partnership born from survival, mutual respect, and reliance on each other's strengths. As the station slowly returned to normal, Tom knew that the mercenaries would likely return. But he also knew that with Mira at his side, he could face almost anything the universe threw at them. And for the first time, he did not mind the strange bond. It had forced him to see that humans, when combined with allies of unexpected skill, could be more than he had ever imagined. Ravi sat in the small observation deck of the station, looking out at the stars. The quiet hum of machines surrounded him. He thought about the strange path his life had taken. Just a few weeks ago, he had been a normal trader, a man who moved goods from one port to another. He never thought one card game would change everything. Yet here he was, bound by alien custom to Mira, the small cat-eared alien who now stood near the window, her tail swaying slowly as she watched the stars with calm eyes. Mira spoke softly, her voice clear though her human words were still simple. Ravi, choice time comes. You decide now. Stay bonded or break bond. My people accept both. I accept both. But choice must be yours. Ravi leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He stared at the floor for a long moment. Mira, when we first played cards, I had no idea about your customs. I thought it was just a game. I didn't mean to step into something so deep. But then you stayed with me. You helped me when others only laughed. You stood beside me in danger. And when the raiders came, you risked yourself for me, for everyone. Mira turned her head slightly, her ears twitching. You risk too. You fight with heart. You protect many. I see truth in you. Not just luck in game, but strong bond in spirit. The words struck Ravi harder than he expected. He realized he had grown used to her presence. Her small steps behind him in the hallways. Her curious eyes studying every tool and screen on his ship. Her voice correcting him when his numbers were wrong. She had become part of his days without him noticing, but the choice was heavy. If he chose the bond, he would tie his life to her people's custom. He would carry Mira's trust and maybe more. If he broke it, she would leave. She had said she would accept, but Ravi knew it would hurt her. He had seen the light in her eyes when she called him bonded one. Ravi stood and walked closer to the window. The stars glimmered like endless diamonds spread across dark space. His voice was steady when he asked, Mira, what happens if I break the bond? Mira's ears lowered a little. She folded her hands in front of her. If break bond, I return to clan. I say human did not choose. No shame, no hate, only end I live on. But bond in my heart maybe stays. I cannot erase. Her honesty made his chest tighten. He turned toward her. And if I keep the bond? Her tail flicked once. Her voice grew stronger. If keep bond, you not only partner in station, you are partner in life. We share journey. We share trials. My clan welcomes you as family. You become bridge between human and my kind. We walk together, always. The words filled the air like a promise. Ravi thought of the battles they had faced, the way Mira had stood beside him with fearless eyes even though she was small and fragile compared to armored soldiers. He thought of the way she learned quickly, how she found hidden patterns in raider signals that no one else saw. And he thought of the way she smiled when she finally understood a human word she had struggled with. He realized that what had started as a strange accident had grown into something real. Mira was not just an alien tied to him by a game. She was a partner, clever and loyal. She had already proven she would fight and think beside him. He did not know what the future would hold, but he knew one thing. He did not want to walk it alone. Ravi took a deep breath. Mira, I choose to keep the bond. Not because of a game, not because of rules, but because I want to, because I respect you, because you've earned your place by my side. Mira's eyes widened. Her ears lifted high and her tail flicked with joy. She stepped closer, her voice trembling with warmth. Then bond is true, not accident, not mistake. Bond is choice, our choice. For a moment, the stars outside seemed brighter. The news spread across the station quickly. Word traveled faster than ships, and soon everyone knew. The human trader Ravi had chosen to keep the bond with the tiny alien Mira. At first, many laughed, calling it strange. But those who had seen the battle with the raiders spoke differently. They told stories of Mira's clever strategies and Ravi's courage. They said the two had saved lives by working as one. Slowly, the laughter faded, replaced by respect. The station commander invited Ravi and Mira to a meeting. In the wide chamber, leaders of different clans and trade groups gathered. The commander's voice echoed through the hall. Ravi, Mira, your bond is not only personal. It has become a sign. human and alien standing together, stronger than alone. We face many dangers in this region. Raiders, shortages, rival factions. But if bonds like yours grow, perhaps we will endure. Ravi felt the weight of those words. He had not planned to become a symbol. He had only followed his heart. Yet now their bond was more than private. It was hope for others. Mira seemed to understand too. She held her head high, ears forward, her small frame full of pride. After the meeting, Ravi walked with Mira through the busy markets of the station. Merchants greeted them with respect. Some aliens offered small gifts, tokens of goodwill. Human traders nodded with approval. For the first time, Ravi felt like he was not just passing through. He belonged to something larger. Mira walked beside him, her eyes bright as she studied every new item and sound. She spoke quietly. Ravi, future may be hard. Many not like bond. Some fear change, but I not fear. Because you choose, Ravi smiled. Yes, I chose. And I'll keep choosing every day. Weeks passed and life settled into a new rhythm. Ravi and Mira worked together on his ship. She learned human systems quickly, often finding small errors or faster methods. He learned her language, word by word, until he could understand her thoughts more clearly. They trained together, played games together, and shared meals in the small cabin. One evening, as they sat with cards spread across the table, Ravi laughed. Funny, isn't it? All this started because of a game like this. Mira tilted her head, ears twitching. Yes, game of chance. But no chance. Destiny game, bond game, life game. Her words were simple, but Ravi understood. The game had been luck, but what they made after was choice. That choice was stronger than fate. Months later, another threat rose near the station. This time, it was not raiders, but a great storm in space. A violent surge of energy that threatened to tear apart ships caught in its path. Many traders panicked, unsure how to escape. Ravi and Mira worked side by side, guiding ships through safer routes using both human charts and Mira's alien star lore. Together, they saved dozens of lives once more. After the danger passed, Ravi looked at Mira as she leaned over the navigation screen, her small hands moving quickly. He realized again how much she had become part of his world. Not an accident, not a burden, but a choice that had reshaped his life. And so, as the stars stretched out before them, Ravi knew that the story of a human trader and a tiny alien cat girl was only beginning. Their bond, born in a game, had grown into something that might one day change the fate of both their peoples. Ravi looked at Mira and said with a firm voice, "Whatever comes, we face it together." Mira smiled, her ears high, her tail curling with joy. Together always.